Bunch of stories going on tonight. We're talking about them. My name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff in for Chris Krok as Chris fills in this morning, earlier today, and again tomorrow for Casey Bartholomew. I'll be back in Chris's chair tomorrow night here on News Talk 820 WBAP. Historic night in that a former president who is the nominee for our party, President Donald Trump, made an appearance tonight at the RNC. He did not speak. He made history today by announcing his vice president pick, which is J.D. Vance, Senator J.D. Vance from the state of Ohio. J.D. is basically a 40-year-old guy, rags to riches story that at one time was a never-Trumper. I remember watching J.D. when he ran for Senate in the state of Ohio a few years back say, I'm a never-Trumper. Today he addressed that on Fox News and a couple other networks that said, I was wrong. I was wrong. And he explained why I was wrong. I appreciate that out of a candidate for office. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to have new information and say, based off new information, I have a different feeling on that. And that's what he did today. Both J.D. Vance and Donald Trump made an appearance tonight at the RNC. Donald Trump came in with a big old patch on his ear, his right ear, on the heels of the assassination attempt from Saturday night. And to me, the big story tonight at the RNC was one of the last speakers, and that was Sean O'Brien. Sean is the Teamsters Union president for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. If you just listen to parts of that speech, you'd think it was a Democratic guy talking about pro-democratic issues, but he was talking about the economy, putting people to work, jobs, good-paying jobs, careers, and President Trump fostering that. It's fascinating to me to think that we actually had a major union party boss in the RNC stumping for a Republican president, Donald Trump. While the Democrats are talking about threat to democracy, and they're talking about the one word I think the Democratic Party represents, which is equality, the Republicans are talking about putting paychecks on your kitchen tables and sustaining life. I think that's brilliant. That's wonderful and a great example. Love to hear your opinion on some of the things you're hearing here tonight on the Chris Krok Show. I'm Westside Jeff. We got a couple open phone lines at 800-288-9227. Let's get to Greg. Greg from Waxahachie. Greg, thanks for listening. You're on with Westside Jeff on WBAP. What's your thoughts on what you're hearing?
Well, Jeff, I think you've got it all wrong. The real problem is everybody's voting for free stuff for everybody. So if you have a choice of I'm going to vote and go out and do stuff for myself, or I'm going to just sit here and let the government take care of me, I'm going to get free health care. I'm going to get free food with the WIC card. I'm going to get all the stuff that goes along with this. Then, okay, there's 80% of us that are going to vote for that. There's 20% of us, like me. I've got 100 employees, and I'll get up every morning at 5:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, depending on what day it is, and try to go to work and do all the stuff that's required of me to support these people. But the problem is that if I'm only one vote, all of my people get to vote too, and they will vote for free stuff for everyone. And as long as the Democrat Party stands for you get free health care, you get free food. I mean, come on, look at the lines that they have. I mean, free turkeys at Christmas and Thanksgiving. I mean, people sitting there, $30,000 and $40,000 cars waiting on a free turkey instead of going to work and earning the money to buy a turkey. So I'm just saying it. Free stuff for everyone is really, really hard to run against, and that's why the Republicans are going to eventually run out of steam, because and we're basically doomed. I know that's defeatist, but that's my opinion.
Greg, let me ask you. You said you're an employer. You have 100 employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
How
Yes,
tough
sir.
is it today to hire?
Oh, it's impossible. It's impossible because what you get when you go out and let's just say you say, oh, I'm going to post an ad on Indeed. Well, on Indeed, every if you get 15 people that contact you on Indeed, you can put, I need somebody that has the ability to do brain surgery, and you'll get 15 applicants going, hey, I can drive a forklift. And then they go, well, but I can drive a forklift, so it doesn't matter. All they want to do is they want to make sure that they make a contact with an employer so that they can continue to be on unemployment and get their check. And so you waste your time. So the only way I can ever hire people, the only way I wind up coming up with employees is really word of mouth and just talking to my constituents, or not constituents, my cohorts, the people that are in the same business that I'm in. Hey, do you know anybody? Do you know any press operators that need work or anything like that? And then you can wind up getting somebody that way. But as far as running ads, most of the people that answer ads at this point don't even read what you're asking for. They're just trying to get another contact for their unemployment for the week.
Greg, I hope we're not in an era where people are only looking for free stuff, and I think good conservatives like you and I recognize that free stuff runs out, and in the end, you and I pay for the free stuff.
That's right. You will run out. Was it Margaret Thatcher, whoever it was, that said you'll run out of other people's money? I don't remember who said that, but and I'm not trying to be intelligent. I'm not I'm not Mark Levin or Dan Bongino, but I'm just saying that
you're more important because you're a small business owner.
Right. Well, it's very difficult to do what we're doing and to keep everything moving forwards. And then I've become a bank, and just I'm begging people to continue to work for me, and everybody's like, well, everything's more and more expensive, and so everybody that I had that used working for me that used to make $10 an hour is now making 12 to 15. Everybody that was making 12 to 15 is now making 18 to 20, and everybody that was making 20 is now making 20 to 25, and they're not happy. They're like, it's like I'm their villain, but so I wind up being the banker. It's a very it's a tough situation when you look at what's going on and you go, wow. So if I can just vote Democrat, I can sit back on my rear end and I'll get a WIC card and I can go to the grocery store and buy, all the groceries that I need to take care of my family and I can just sit back here and if there's a problem, I can draw unemployment. I can get on welfare. I can do all the things you can do. All this safety net's one thing, but counting on it is another. And that's what when I'm trying to get my people that, look, you can't. I know everybody hates Orange Man. I'm like, come on, man, leave Orange Man alone. He's trying really. He's got great policies. But then he goes into that that egotistical, what do you call it, maniacal, just like I'm number one, and I love him for it. But all the people that are somewhere in the middle, they hate him for it. So it's like, y'all, believe me, y'all are going to be way better off with Orange Man sending out mean tweets and being ornery and telling Putin that, hey, I'm going to kick your butt.
Who believes in capitalism, by the way?
Exactly.
Orange Man's a capitalist, and the other guy's a socialist.
Exactly. And I love Orange Man. But I can't convince people. When I start talking to somebody that's leaning the other direction. And
hey, Greg, I got to hit a break. Do you mind sticking around for a minute? Can you stick around for a second?
Sure.
I'm going to ask my producer to put you on hold for a minute because I want to come out of I get hit a quick break. On the other side of that, I want to ask you this. You told me you're a small business owner. You struggle to find employees. And I want to ask you on the other side of this. As a small business owner, you said that there's a lot of people that want free stuff from the government. You're a small business owner. You know what the problem is. I'm going to ask you on the other side of this break, what solutions would you provide? I want to hear what your thoughts are in 4 minutes. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok. News Talk 820 WBAP. Chris is filling in for Casey Bartholomew, middle of the day. I'm sitting in Chris's chair while he's probably sleeping tonight or hopefully getting a good night's rest so he can be sitting in the chair tomorrow for Casey. I'll be sitting, taking over Chris's show tomorrow night, too. We're talking about the big stories today, the RNC convention going on in Milwaukee. Tonight, something that really stuck out to me was Teamsters Union President Sean O'Brien, who said that... I think his comment was something, I didn't write it down, but his comment was the man who almost took a bullet on Saturday night is one tough SOB, referring to him getting up, Trump getting up afterwards and screaming, fight, fight, fight. Basically fight for the American people, the American way is what he was advocating. And tonight's messages was about improving the financial security of our homes. It's about money. It's about making America rich again, getting inflation under control and making it better for all of us. I opened up the phones to ask your thoughts on this. Greg called from Waxahachie. Greg, thank you for sticking around. You said a moment ago that you're a small business owner. You've got 100 employees. It's a struggle to find employees, and your sense of belief in the American voter, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but tell me if I'm off on this, is waning a little bit as what you see from your vantage point as a small business owner, people who don't want to work, people who don't want the jobs, people who would rather sit the sidelines and let the government care for them with free everything. Did I sum it up correctly?
Yeah, I would put about a 30 to 40% number on that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say that the
not
whole
everybody. There's a percentage of people
right.
that feel that way. Yes, I get it. By the way, if you'd like, I'll be happy to give you some publicity if you'd like to name your company and the kinds of positions you have open, because News Talk listeners are. And if not, I appreciate that too.
No, that's okay. I will say that I'm a screen printer. I print T-shirts. And you know, it's one of those things. I need press operators. I need pullers and catchers, but also people that can just, you know, generally just work and you know, count to 12. We count to 12 a lot. You know, everything's at 12. So,
do you ever count to 13, a baker's dozen?
Exactly. If you do that, then I lose money. So it's a very hard business to run, But the bottom line is that it's been very difficult, especially through COVID and through all the things that have happened. And you know, when they were paying people $900 a week to stay home, it was so difficult to stay open. And but you know, we made it through it, and then it's like I hate the government. I don't want any money from the government. Oh, guess what? Here's your free money. Here's some free money from the government because of COVID. You know, and I'm like, I didn't want that. But you know, I'm like, well, you're an idiot, Greg, if you don't take it. So you're like, but then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what's this ERC thing? This employee retention credit.
Sure.
I mean, just because you made it through COVID and you still have a business, all of a sudden, you know, they want to give you $200,000-$300,000.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, well, great, that's awesome, but I don't want it because I feel guilty. I didn't pay that. So it becomes, you know, and so it's like, okay, do I take the money? Do I leave the money? All this is causing all this inflation that everybody's talking about. They're just printing money. They're just printing millions.
Devaluing the dollar.
Yeah, and so what? So man, go buy gold. But I'm just saying, I agree with. I don't want to say that the whole world is lazy and the whole world doesn't want to work. I'm just saying that when it comes down to the bottom line, is that if you want to vote, if you vote Republican, you got to go out and earn it for yourself. If you're
voting for capitalism. Greg, let me ask you this question. I asked a moment ago. Yeah. Small business owner, vantage point from your seat sitting in Waxahachie. As a small business owner who employs 100 people, you're now a U.S. senator. You're now a U.S. House of Representatives member. You're now the president of the United States. You're now in the position of making decisions. How do you fix it? Give me 2 or 3 things you recommend people in government do that can change the trajectory of your business, of small businesses. What can government do? What solutions can government provide that will improve your business, our community, from your vantage point? Give me a couple quickies.
Well, the most important thing would be get out of our way. Leave me alone. Quit giving me more crap to deal with, and it's constant.
Less regulations.
Yeah, and just one little example would be like, all of a sudden, all of my employees that are on salary, if they work over 44 hours a week, I've got to report their hours, and it generates a whole new problem for me to have to report their hours for this week. And if they worked over 40 hours, I got to pay them overtime, because it's not fair for me to hire somebody as a salary and pay them. Let's just pick a number, $50,000 a year, and then I make them work let's just say 60 hours a week, and they're going, wait a minute, they're working 40 hours, 20 hours a week overtime, and you're not paying them for it. And I go, well, but they're getting their job done. Well, and so now we're protecting everybody, and that's a brand. And this is just one example of what I just got shoved down my throat by my people at Paychecks that tell me, hey, you got a bunch of salaried employees, you need to start reporting their hours in case they're working over 40 hours a week, and you got to pay them extra. I go, well, really? And so it's just stuff like that. Just leave me alone. Let me run my business. That will help the small business owners, and it will help me help my people. But and I'm not lining my pockets. I mean, my gosh, it's
just trying to make a living. Greg, I got to cut you short. I got to hit bottom of the hour news. I'm sorry about that. You've been a wonderful call, and I appreciate it. And I think you represent the American businessman, and I appreciate it, because that's got to be talked about. That's part of the problem. That's that's pro-conservative capitalism, and I think you make some good points. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We just can't have free stuff for everyone, for everybody. It won't work. Right.
Greg from Waxahachie, thank you very much for calling. If you want to weigh in on this, some great comments. I want to hit the bottom of the hour news with Sean Allen in the newsroom with an update on the RNC, as well as some other news going on. He's got that coming up in about 2 minutes. On either side of that, your calls. I got a couple open phone lines, 800-288-9227. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. So I want to thank Greg from Waxahachie for calling in. He's a small business owner. Great conversation. I thought that was worthy of having him on through that break a moment ago. He says small business owner has 100 employees, and there's a certain percentage of people that all the free stuff the government has given has made for lazy people. And he said it's really tough to hire people these days. Listen, I know a lot of small business owners that I deal with. My dad was one. He was a small business owner. He was a plumber, passed away in 94. I'm a champion of small businesses, and I can't remember a time that was so difficult to run businesses as it is today. Thomas reached out to me across social media. Thomas, thanks for the message. You can connect with me on on Facebook and on X, Instagram under Westside Jeff. Thomas shot me a note, said, "Hey Jeff, you're doing a great job filling in tonight, but this feller that you are talking to again keeps repeating the same line, which I agree with. He said, the church I attend, Seventh-day Adventist Church, they got food, a food bank, and charity. You see all these people in brand new vehicles. That irks the thunder out of me. Thomas, thanks for sharing that. It reiterates what Greg said, and that is that there are some elements of government, and especially from the Democratic side of the aisle and this Democratic White House, that is about government dependence is what it comes down to. I said a little while ago, about 30 minutes ago, that there's one word that to me that separates good conservative Republicans like me and you from liberal Democrats. Our belief system differs, and to me it comes down to one word. The Democrats believe, we both believe in equality. But the Democrats stand for equality of opportunity, or equality. We stand for, Republicans stand for equality of opportunity, while Democrats stand for equality of outcome. And you can't legislate outcome. You can legislate opportunity, and we all believe in every person, no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your sexual orientation, no matter whether you come from money or no money, no matter what your plight in life has been, that everybody deserves an equal opportunity, but not everybody gets equal outcome. And to me, the Democratic Party has given up the platform of standing up for the working man, and the Republican Party under Donald Trump has embraced that. Hence, tonight's key speaker was Sean O'Brien, Teamsters Union President from the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Going up and down Twitter, former Twitter, now it's called X, there's a lot of comments about Sean O'Brien's speech, and I'm seeing both sides. I'm seeing people saying that he sounded like a Democrat up there, anti-business, pro-worker, pro-unions, and so on. But I also saw a lot of Republicans post, you know what, good for him. Good for him. I think it's great conversation. I think it's a conversation that's got to be had. In the end of the day, this election is going to be won and lost over states like Indiana, or not Indiana, but Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, North Carolina, Colorado. But the Rust Belt is going to really dominate and control a lot of the narrative of this election. Hence why Donald Trump today selected J.D. Vance, a U.S. senator, sitting senator in the state of Ohio, my home state, as his VP running mate. Your thoughts, your opinions, what do you think about all this? It's interesting to talk to Greg, small business owner, that says quit. His point was to quit emphasizing and rewarding people to stay in at home. 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. York, you've been on hold with me for a while, and I apologize for taking so long to get you. York from Cisco, thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate it very much.
Not a problem, sir. I enjoyed hearing some of Greg's points.
You had some great points as a small business owner. To me, that's a backbone of our country right there.
Yes, sir. My thought is, if you were to define today's Democrats, or even the past 20 or 30 years worth of Democrats, that one word is power. They espouse women's lib. They espouse equality of outcome. They espouse rights, especially sexual or reproductive or transformative, whatever rights you want to put out there. They espouse it as long as they either maintain or gain power. Look what they did to President Trump. They saw that once he came down the golden escalator, they saw that he was a real threat.
Sure.
They immediately began defending their power base. They began attacking. Up till then, he was a golden child. He could not be touched. As soon as they saw that he threatened their power, boom, they went on the offensive.
They did the same thing on Elon Musk.
Yes. It's all about power. Like Greg touched on, generational welfare. The Democrats espouse, got to have rights for the blacks, got to have reparations, got to have this, got to have that. I personally have, when I was working masonry construction before I went to the military, I was working in Dallas-Fort Worth area. I would see 3 generations of African Americans. Got to be politically correct. It makes my soul bleed to say that, but you see 3 generations on welfare pull up in a nicer vehicle than I could afford. They all pulled out food stamps at the time, and then later on it went to the EBT card, so it's more dignified, less dishonorable or demeaning, or whatever you want to call it. And they're walking out with my paycheck, my weekly paycheck. They're walking out for free in steaks and beer and this and that. And I'm eating bologna, and I'm working 5.5, 6 days a week. And if I'm lucky, I'm hitting overtime and thinking, hey, you know what? I can take the wife out to, you know what? Instead of just a little mom and pop Mexican restaurant, I might be able to take her out to Texas Roadhouse or to Cracker Barrel. I might get to splurge this month because I've paid my bills and I've got a little bit extra. It's all about power. Whatever they can espouse to maintain or gain power, they'll talk it up. They'll talk it till you're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, what have they actually done for that? Nothing. All they do is exploit and grift and power grab. And my first legal voting opportunity was in '98. I'm the last generation of Gen Xers, and I thought I was going to vote for Clinton. And my mom sat me down and said, "Well, why do you want to vote for him?" So forth and so on. And that made me realize that, wait a minute, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's saying one thing, but his actions said a lot more. And so ever since then, I've had the honor of voting conservative Republican. But whether I was working construction and we had guys who would be, and these, I'm talking about salt of the earth, but they were either illegal or they were on temporary green cards. They espoused, I'm voting Democrat because, or they appreciated the Democratic thought process because, like Greg said, free stuff.
Well, York, back to your point, and thank you for being a part of the show and calling tonight. Back to your point is Democrats standing for power. I think that whole equality of outcome, they say, empowers them. And I think it's tied together. I think you're spot on with some of that, and it coalesces together, and there's a connection. 800-288-9227. I got a couple open phone lines. I see Raylan from Dallas. We'll get to you in a minute. I got to hit a quick break. On the other side of this, before I get to Raylan, I want to talk about real quickly about something you said about power. It ties back to another issue that Democrats espouse, and that is unity. You hear unity. We're hearing unity a lot right now on the heels of what happened Saturday. I want to tell you what unity means and what they are, what that's code for. What does that really mean? I'll explain it in about 3.5 minutes. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Juggling a lot of stories tonight because there's a lot of news going on today, breaking news throughout the day. We'll be covering even into the top of the hour after the news, and that includes Trump selecting his vice president candidate, J.D. Vance. He's U.S. Senator from the state of Ohio. J.D.'s been in office 2 years. J.D. really is a rags to riches story. Talking about the federal judge that dismissed classified documents from the prosecution against Donald Trump. They threw that one out. That could go to an appeals court. Watch as that proceeds through the months ahead. We're talking about more information that has come out recently in the last couple hours on the shooter, Thomas Crooks, who took a shot at assassination shot at Donald Trump on Saturday. The more hours that go by, the less we know about this guy, which is unbelievable to not know a lot about him. And we're talking about the other big story of the day, and that is the RNC kicked off in Milwaukee. And tonight's theme in Milwaukee has pretty much been jobs, money, kind of make America rich again. And the night culminated with Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters Union president, International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I never in my lifetime thought I'd see a Teamsters Union president speaking at the RNC, advocating for a Republican candidate to win the White House. Because historically, it's been the Republicans that have not been the greatest supporters of unions. But Donald Trump is not your typical politician, and he has usurped the Democrats on that and taken that stance. We took a call a little while ago from a gentleman named Greg, who's a small business owner, has 100 employees, and talked about the fact that there's just a percentage of the workforce or non-workforce. There's a percentage of people out there that just don't want to work, and they'd rather have free everything, free government dependence, which is part of, I think, what the Biden White House has delivered. And when I think about Biden White House delivering, the one thing that sticks out to me, and I'll get to Raylan in just a second. Raylan, I see you on hold there. I'll get to you in just a second on the phones with your thoughts on this. One thing that sticks out on the heels of the events of Saturday night and the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. For the last 36 hours, you go up and down the dial and you watch all the talking heads on Fox, on News Nation, on CNBC, on MSNBC, on CNN, ABC, NBC, all the talking heads across all the TV networks that you see. The one word that they use is unity. You go up and down the dial and you hear them all say unity, right? We need to get back to having unification and unity and tone things down. Let me remind you on this. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok. And I'll be back tomorrow night. 4 years ago tonight, 4 years ago right this second, Joe Biden ran, his platform was unity. You go back and watch his speeches, and the Democrats at the time were, we need to unify this country. And he felt that way strongly because of coming out of COVID, the division of the country. That was a real divisive time, obviously, in our country, probably more divisive now. What happened to the unification that Joe Biden was going to provide? He's never delivered that. My problem with hearing folks on TV, these Democrats in particular, talking about unity, my problem hearing them say we need to unify. To Democrats, to you and I as conservatives, unifying means the concept of sitting down, having discussions about problems and solutions and trying to find common ground. And that's unification to good conservatives. But on the Democratic side, unification means if you agree with us, we're unified. And if you don't agree with us, you're an existential threat to democracy. That's their thought in unification. Raylan, I got to get to you real quick. I'm sorry, I got just a couple minutes for you, and I apologize for that. What's your thought on all this?
Oh, not a problem at all, Jeff. Can you hear me good?
Got it. Go. You got 2
Awesome.
minutes.
Okay, I'll try to wrap it up quick. Just what Greg was talking about earlier, and my heart goes out to him because, like you said, these small businesses are the backbone of our economy. I'm a young man. I'm in my mid-20s. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went out, I got a trade. I'm working hard. I'm in the sun every single day. I got into this trade as an apprentice, making $13 an hour. Now I'm up over $30 an hour. And, God bless that. But with the Biden economy and how bad everything has gotten, and how hard it is on business owners, I'm making more money than I've ever made myself. Just kind of bouncing off of what he was talking about having to pay people more, and I'm still struggling. Because this economy is so bad, and I talk to a lot of my friends, and a lot of my friends are in the same boat. My wife and I, we want to start a family. We can't. And then with what happened with Trump, Saturday, and how much uncertainty there is, it makes us a little afraid to try to start a family,
Raylan, I got to interrupt you and apologize for that. You were on hold so long, and I apologize. I'll be back on tomorrow night. Love to hear you call. I got to get to the top of the hour news in just a second. So thank you for listening. Thank you for calling.
I appreciate you.
Please accept my apology for cutting you short. I'm sorry. I hope you'll listen tomorrow night and call in tomorrow night. Coming up top of the hour news, got Sean Allen in the newsroom reiterating some of the stories we're talking about. Tonight's topic at the RNC was the economy and money. And he's got a story on Gen Z struggling to pay bills, like Raylan, who just called in. That's coming up in 2 minutes. Sean Allen. On the other side of that, we'll continue this 4 stories we're talking about and the breaking news going on. We'll hit that in about 6 minutes. I'm Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.